Hello my crafty friends, welcome back to the MFT YouTube channel. I'm stopping in today to share an interactive project that I created using the Fast Track Friends stamp set, and I've paired it with the Slimline Starter Set Die-namics to make a double slider loop card. I knew when I saw that race car driving bunny that I had to make him move. It's designed just like any other double slider loop card, but in a slimline version. I die cut 3 of the stitched rectangles from some smooth white, Limelight, and Eiffel Tower cardstocks, and then I die cut the Limelight panel using the Slimline Stitched Snowdrifts Die-namics, and I used the stitched rectangle die to do a partial die cut to create the road. And I'm giving a quick overview of the other products that I used, but I'll be more specific as we go along in our project. You can see that by using that stitched rectangle die from the Slimline Starter Set Die-namics, all of the edges are uniformly stitched and fit perfectly together. I've placed the Slimline Double Slider Loop Slots die under that pencil line so that I know the mechanics of the mechanism will be hidden by the road. I'll die cut that off camera. Off camera, I trimmed a 1/2-inch strip from a Ziploc freezer bag, and I'll just trim off that zipper portion with my scissors. And now I'll feed the ends of the loop through the slots and pull them to the back of the grassy panel. I'll pull the ends of the loop together, leaving a little bit of slack in the loop, and then I'll staple the ends together with my Tim Holtz tiny attacher. And once I've got those ends secured, I'll trim off the excess loop material with my scissors. I find this to be the most secure way to assemble this mechanism because I trust that it'll ultimately withstand lots of pushing and pulling without falling apart. Again, using the Slimline Starter Set Die-namics, I die cut 2 pull tabs from Eiffel Tower cardstock, and I adhered them together with my tape runner. After I position the pull tab so that it extends about 1/4 of an inch beyond the right side of the grassy panel, I'll again use my tiny attacher to attach the pull tab to the loop. To keep the pull tab aligned when it's being pushed and pulled, I trimmed a piece of text weight paper so that it measures 1/4 of an inch by 3 inches, and I've wrapped that around the pull tab into thirds. Then I'll use my glue stick to secure the ends together. I'll slide the loop over the end of the pull tab and secure it to the grassy panel with more liquid glue. I found that this is the easiest and most efficient way to keep the pull tab aligned. Now let's work on our road that we previously created using the stitched rectangle from the Slimline Starter Set Die-namics. I wanted to add some yellow lines to the road to make it look more realistic, so I trimmed an 1/8-inch strip of lemon drop cardstock and then used my scissors to snip 1/4-inch pieces. And then I applied little bits of liquid glue to the imaginary center line and adhered each of the pieces with my jewel picker. Off camera, I stamped, colored, and die cut the images from the Fast Track Friends stamp set to complete my little scene. I'm temporarily positioning the race car driving bunny below the grassy panel so that I can get an idea of where I want to adhere him. I trimmed an acetate strip and I've adhered some double-sided tape to one end. Once I decide where I want the driver to be positioned, I'll adhere that acetate strip to the loop. I added a double layer of foam squares to the front of the grassy panel, making sure not to place any foam squares in areas that might interfere with the movement of my driver or the interactive mechanism, and then I adhered the road to the grassy panel. This was my first chance to use one of the new Slimline stencils. This one is the Slimline Cloud Edges stencil, and it's perfectly sized to create fluffy clouds horizontally on a slimline panel. I'm using Summer Splash dye ink and my ink blender. What a great value these Slimline stencils are, because you can use them on both a slimline panel as well as an A2 size card, or any size card for that matter. I added a double layer of foam squares, again in areas that won't interfere with the mechanism, to the back of the grassy panel, and I'm adhering that to the cloud panel. The double layer of foam squares gives the pull tab plenty of room to move. And now I can add the other stamped images from the Fast Track Friends stamp set to my scene. I adhered the tire to the grassy hill using my tape runner adhesive, and I added a double layer of foam squares to the back of the cat's head and attached that to the cloud panel. I added my own lines to his finish line flag and colored it in to look like a checkered flag. Then I positioned the race car driver where I wanted him to start the race and adhered a foam square to the acetate strip. The foam square assures me that the race car driver can move smoothly along the road and not get caught up when I pull on the pull tab. Once I can see that everything is working as planned, I'll use my scissors to trim off the excess acetate strip. I adhered a second acetate strip to the back of the race car, and then I stamped and die cut the 3 little clouds from the Friendly Unicorn stamp set. I wanted it to look like exhaust was coming out of the rear of the car. I adhered 2 of the 3 clouds to the acetate strip using some thin 3D foam squares and trimmed off the excess acetate with my scissors. I decided on one of the sentiments from the Fast Track Friends stamp set and positioned it where I wanted it, using my regular Misty and some Eiffel Tower die ink to stamp it. In hindsight, I probably should have stamped the sentiment before I assembled the card, but luckily it all worked out. I'm adhering the assembled panel to a Summer Splash card base that I trimmed to 7 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 3.5 inches on the 7-inch side, folded in half, and creased with my Teflon bone folder. And that'll do it for my card today. I hope you'll try this out for yourself, as there's nothing more fun than adding a moving part surprise to any card. I've listed and linked all of the products that I use below, and if you have any questions at all, be sure and leave me a comment and I'll answer it just as soon as I can. Please consider subscribing to the MFT YouTube channel so that you don't miss one single bit of crafty goodness that we share here. Thanks for watching and have a spectacular day.